The day I pledged my engagement to Li Chuan, Xiao Tinglu drank poison wine. The world said that Prince Rui was unbearable in his suffering, until I entered the study lined with portraits. Each portrait was of me. My aunt wiped away the tears from her eyes. I never knew he cared for you so deeply. If given the chance to start over, would you give Lu Yu another opportunity? When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back several days before the engagement. Xiao Tinglu is the sixth son of His Majesty, the current emperor. His mother was the daughter of a county magistrate, holding a low rank. Only after giving birth to Xiao Tinglu did she receive the title of Gu from His Majesty. When Xiao Tinglu was 8 years old, Empress Zhao passed away. At 10 years old, he was bullied by other princes and pushed into a lotus pond, falling seriously ill. This matter came before his imperial aunt, the empress. Aunt was furious and had Xiao Tinglu brought to Fengwu Palace for upbringing. In the year Xiao Tinglu turned 16, to repay his aunt's nurturing, he volunteered to march to the northern desert on behalf of the crown prince. Although he won the battle, he lost a leg and was bestowed the title of Prince Rui by His Majesty. After returning to the capital, he stayed within his residence and rarely went out. On the day of my engagement, news arrived that Xiao Tinglu had committed suicide. After his death, the secret he had hidden in his study was finally discovered. In the study, portraits of me were hung everywhere, all painted by Xiao Tinglu himself. The last painting still had wet ink, and the signature was dated to the hour of Chen on the day I was engaged. The south pond is sad and desolate. The west wind gently weeps through autumn. One glance breaks the heart. Go well. Don't look back. This poem written on the painting was his final words left behind in this world. Xiao Tinglu had ultimately become his aunt's son for 9 years. And his aunt wept all night long in sorrow. I never knew he cared for you this much. The attendant beside him said that he chose to commit suicide after learning of your engagement news. Ching Ching, if time could flow backward, would you be willing to give Lulu a chance? I looked at the portrait of myself on the table in front of my aunt and nodded. Before I could open my mouth to speak, a sudden flash of white light appeared before my eyes, slowly engulfing me. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to a few days before my engagement. Your Majesty has been selecting for you for quite some time. Among all the young men in the capital, it is only the youngest son of General Li who could catch your Majesty's eye. How do you find him, my dear? Auntie smiled and asked me. I didn't speak, pondering in my heart how to refuse this marriage arrangement. Ching Ching, are you shy? If you don't object, I'll have the Emperor bestow marriage upon you and Li Chuan tomorrow. No way. I cannot become engaged to Li Chuan. Xiao Tinglu was suicidal because of my engagement. Did heaven let me restart this life, just so I could rewrite his tragic ending? Uncle, may I go back and think carefully once more? You are the youngest daughter of the Jiang family, so you don't need to bear the heavy responsibility of the clan. Just choose someone you like. Thank you, Aunt. After leaving the Fengwu Palace, I was eager to meet Xiao Tinglu immediately. Xiao Tinglu, as a prince, won a victory in battle at 16 years old. Although he lost a leg, he was still a hero in the hearts of the people and a favored son of heaven. He possessed the power, wealth, and status that others could never obtain in their entire lives. Why did he so easily let go of everything and drink from that cup of poison? Among all the paintings in his study, the earliest one is of me at 12 years old, at the imperial banquet, but over all these years, I had never paid attention to him. And I never knew of his secret and grand love for me. I followed behind the eunuch, walking through the long palace avenue. When I reached the lotus pond, I saw a lotus pod that had already matured. I couldn't help but stop my steps and reach out to pluck it. The moment I plucked the lotus pod, I suddenly remembered. Xiao Tinglu's last painting before his death was exactly my profile of picking lotus pods by the pond. This indicates that he had seen me. At that moment, he must have been nearby. I turned around suddenly, but there wasn't a soul in sight. Who is Miss Sai looking for? The imperial attendant by the aunt's side was very perceptive. Did sixth brother come today? This morning, Prince Rui entered the palace early to pay his respects to Her Majesty the Empress. When I saw him off from the palace, he said he wanted to rest in the pavilion. Which pavilion? Right over there. The eunuch raised his finger and pointed to the pavilion on the other side of the lotus pond. I looked up and saw it in the distance. Behind the bamboo curtain, a figure sat quietly in a wheelchair, crossing the small bridge over the lotus pond. I arrived at the pavilion. The midday sun shone through the pearl curtain, casting dappled light and shadow on his body. Xiao Tinglu's figure stiffened abruptly when he saw me. He suddenly looked up, his dark eyes filled with affection. His face was a little pale, thinner than before, and a faint red scar crossed his brow. A wound he'd brought back from the battlefield. It was the first time I'd looked at Xiao Tinglu so seriously, and I realized how handsome he really was. Looking back, our interactions had been few. It's just that sometimes I encounter him in the Fengwu Palace, give him a bow, and call him sixth brother, sixth brother. Perhaps because I walked here rather hastily just now, my voice trembled slightly. Our eyes met, and he gave me a faint smile. Ching. The imperial prince is my aunt's biological son. Xiao Tinglu was raised by my aunt, so he has always called me Ching just like his older brother, the crown prince. I sat down at the table, feeling his breath hitch for a moment. Sixth brother, what are you doing sitting here, appreciating the lotus flowers? He lowered his head and spoke in a low voice. Listening to the Empress Dowager. She's picking a husband for you. She's chosen General Li's youngest son. Did you agree, dear? No. My aunt said I should just choose someone I like. Xiao Tinglu audibly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, what kind of person do you like? I turned my head and saw his clenched fists. Is it because he's nervous? I raised my chin and leaned forward slightly, getting a little closer to Xiao Tinglu. Such a man who is completely devoted to me, with only me in his heart. Xiao Tinglu's ears turned a shade of deep red in an instant. He raised his hand to touch his own ears. And a ceramic bottle rolled out from his sleeve, falling to the ground and shattering into pieces. I instinctively reached out to pick it up. Don't, it's poisonous. After realizing what happened, a flicker of panic appeared in Xiao Tinglu's eyes. Ching, he wanted to explain, but didn't know how to begin. He had actually prepared the poison so early. If I hadn't met him today, is he going to lock himself in his study and paint his final portrait of me? A pang of pain stabbed through my heart. Xiao Tinglu, do you want to marry me? The pavilion fell into instant silence. Xiao Tinglu stood frozen in place, his Adam's apple bobbing up and down as his voice came out dry. Ching, are you joking? He looked down at his disabled left leg and smiled bitterly at himself. Xiao Tinglu fell from his horse, his meridians severed by a single blow. Although his legs were saved, he had lost all sensation and could only sit in a wheelchair or painfully walk with the aid of crutches. I crouched down and reached out to grasp his cold hand. I'm not joking. Xiao Tinglu suddenly looked up, a layer of sorrow spreading across his eyes. I'm just a useless cripple, but you saved my life. When I was 14, I fell seriously ill. The chief physician said that if she wanted to recover, she would need a wild ginseng root from the mountains as the medicinal guide. The only 1,000-year-old wild ginseng in the palace was bestowed by His Majesty to Xiao Tinglu. He had just returned to the capital from the northern desert with a wounded leg not long ago. If he takes this 1,000-year-old wild ginseng, and undergoes continuous acupuncture for 3 months, perhaps Xiao Tinglu's left leg still has a chance to recover. The imperial gift could not be defied. The Jiang family could not contend with the prince. Mother found out and wept by my bedside for a long time. She begged her family, but 1,000-year wild ginseng was too rare. Within days, no one could find it. Perhaps my death was already sealed. Besides, the Jiang family was not short on daughters. My uncle's 2 daughters each married into the families of the chancellor's grandson and the crown prince's elder brother. My legitimate elder sister, on the other hand, was married into the Chenjun Xie clan. As for me, although I was favored, the Jiang family was indeed powerless to do anything about it. I never expected that the next day, that 1,000-year-old wild ginseng would be delivered to the Jiang residence. Xiao Tinglu sacrificed his left leg to save my life. To reduce my psychological burden, he didn't let anyone tell me about it. It wasn't until after his death that I found out. It turned out he had always been silently watching over me from a place I couldn't see. He drew every scene in which he saw me, even the colors of my clothes and the jewelry I wore. He could draw them exactly. He also remembered my preferences. knowing that I liked to drink peach blossom wine and eat lotus pastries. He also knew that I didn't get along with the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Personnel's household and often quarreled with her. He was insecure about his left leg, afraid to come close to me, letting me know his affection for me. Even when we met face to face, he would only call out to me in a restrained manner, saying "Ching Ching." When I learned that Xiao Tinglu had died because of me, I cried for a long time. I regretted not realizing his feelings for me sooner. I want to love him well. This man whose heart holds only me, this time, I will never let him die alone again. The next day, I entered the palace to thank my aunt. Since you are determined to marry, after the emperor and your father have agreed on a date, they will bestow your marriage. Xiao Tinglu had gone to the northern desert on behalf of the crown prince, and had sacrificed the only chance to be cured for me. If I were to marry Xiao Tinglu, the Jiang family would gain a reputation for gratitude and repayment of kindness in the eyes of His Majesty and the court officials. Therefore, the Jiang family unanimously agreed to my marriage to Xiao Tinglu. After leaving the palace, I hurried straight to Xiao Tinglu's residence to tell him this good news. The eunuch led me to the gate of the study courtyard. "Miss Sai, His Highness is currently painting inside. Please wait here for a moment, and I will go announce your arrival." I nodded. I didn't know what he was drawing this time. Entering Xiao Tinglu's study once again, I still couldn't help feeling nervous. I will never forget the shock I felt the first time I stepped into his study. "Who are you? What do you want here?" A girl was standing behind me, looking at me warily. I remembered her. She is the daughter of the younger brother of Xiao Tinglu's biological mother, and her name is Zhao Wanyue. The last time, when I left the study, she stopped me. "It's all your fault. Your cousin has sacrificed so much for you, and you killed him, Jiang Yaoqing. May you die a horrible death." This time, I smiled at her in a friendly manner. "Hello, I'm Jiang Yaoqing, Xiao Tinglu's fiancé." Zhao Wanyue's pupils widened instantly, then she snorted coldly and gave me a disdainful look. "As a woman, you really have no shame. Not only did you come chasing after him, but you also slandered my cousin, and now you even dare to call him by his first name." I was stunned for a moment. Since my birth, no one had ever dared to speak to me like this to my face. Believe it or not, in a few days, the imperial decree granting the marriage between me and Xiao Tinglu will be issued. Ching Ching, the eunuch pushed Xiao Tinglu out of the courtyard. "Mother, she agreed to let you marry me." Xiao Tinglu's voice was hoarse, his eyelashes slightly trembling. "Cousin Tilda, are you really going to marry her?" Before I could respond, Zhao Wanyue shoved me away with a bang. Standing in front of Xiao Tinglu with red eyes, "What should I do now?" She bit her lower lip hard, putting on a pitiful expression. At this point, I understood everything in my heart. I let out a cold laugh. "Since that's the case, then let His Majesty bestow marriages upon the two of you." Having said that, I turned and walked away. "Ching Ching, don't go." Xiao Tinglu reached out to grab me, but accidentally fell off the wheelchair. "Cousin." Zhao Wanyue cried out in alarm and hurried to help him up, but was pushed away by Xiao Tinglu's palm. "Don't touch me." He glanced at Zhao Wanyue with disgust. When he looked up at me, his dark eyes were filled with mist again, brimming with grievance. "Ching Ching, don't go." I sighed and took 2 steps forward. Helping Xiao Tinglu to his feet, he seized the opportunity to grip my hand tightly. His palm was covered with damp, cold sweat. "Third cousin Zhao, pack your things and leave the capital tomorrow morning." Zhao Wanyue was stunned, her voice trembling. "Why did you suddenly want me to leave?" Xiao Tinglu frowned. "Ching Ching and I are about to get engaged, and it's not appropriate for you to continue staying in my residence. I have prepared a sufficient dowry for you. Go home and marry someone you love." A tear streamed down Zhao Wanyue's face. "But my father sent me to the capital to serve you, even if I can't be your primary wife. Let me be a concubine or secondary wife. As long as I can stay by your side." "Zhao Wanyue," Xiao Tinglu interrupted her. "Throughout my life, having Ching Ching has been more than enough. I will never take a concubine. Abandon this thought forever." Zhao Wanyue gasped in shock. "How is this possible?" She pointed her finger at me. "Your senior brother, the emperor's own son, the most honored prince in the capital. Are you really prepared to spend your entire life with such a woman?" Slap. The eunuch who had been standing behind Xiao Tinglu for a long time suddenly stepped forward and slapped Zhao Wu hard across the face. "How dare you? Lady Jiang's fourth miss is the queen's niece, the crown prince's cousin by marriage. The fourth miss's status is invaluable. How dare you speak ill of her so recklessly?" Zhao Wu finally realized who I was. Her face was deathly pale, and she glared at me with unspoken resentment. Covering her face, she ran away crying. I teased her. "Your cousin is crying so sadly, shouldn't you go comfort her?" Xiao Tinglu raised his head and pleaded. "Ching, please don't be angry, okay? I promise you that from now on, no other woman will ever appear in my household again." His tone was humble yet sincere. My heart suddenly raced faster, and I pretended to look away casually. 2 days later, the princess consort hosted a lotus viewing banquet at her estate, and I went there with the invitation card. As soon as I entered the estate, I saw Li Chuan, Miss Jiang, General Li Xiao. I nodded at him. "I heard that Miss Jiang is going to be betrothed to Prince Rui. Why didn't you choose me?" At the moment we brushed past each other, Li Chuan grabbed my wrist. I stopped and turned to look at him, but I saw his reddened eyes and the restrained look in his gaze. My heart suddenly felt anxious for no reason. "We grew up together from childhood, so I thought you would definitely choose me." Li Chuan was the crown prince's tutor, and we did indeed study together and grow up together, but our relationship was never close. In my previous life, after we were betrothed, I reincarnated back just a few days later. I never knew what kind of feelings he actually had for me. "Jiang Yaoqing, could it be that you really love Prince Rui, or is it because you feel guilty about the life-saving kindness he showed you that you're willing to marry him?" I frowned and looked down at my wrist, which he was holding, my voice cold and clear. "General Li, please release your hold." Li Chuan glanced behind me and released his grip. Should my marriage not require the consent of General Li Xiao? But Prince Rui led military campaigns at 16, brave and strategic. Though he may not be agile in movement, in the hearts of our people, he remains our nation's young hero. Who could not love such a hero? General Li, being a military officer, would be able to empathize even more, wouldn't you say? Li Chuan fell silent. After a while, he let out a self-mocking smile. "Turns out, for all these years, it's been me being overly sentimental. His Royal Highness Prince Rui, you have one." I turned around abruptly. Xiao Tinglu was sitting in a wheelchair, looking at Li Chuan with a gloomy gaze. Xiao Tinglu heard the conversation between me and Li Chuan. Perhaps it was because I had firmly chosen him, but I noticed that when facing me, he was no longer as cautious as before. After the banquet ended, Xiao Tinglu led me to the courtyard next to the Rui Wang's mansion. Pushing open the courtyard gate, my eyes were met with nothing but vibrant hydrangeas in full bloom. There are white, pink, purple, blue, and even the extremely rare green hydrangeas. I couldn't help but cheer and run joyfully around the small courtyard. Everyone who knows me is aware that I am extremely fond of hydrangeas. In my own yard, I have planted dozens of them. "Ah, are all of these plants you grown, They're all planted by my own hands." Xiao Tinglu said that this courtyard was specifically bought by him for growing flowers. Whenever he feels lonely or bored, he comes here to water the flowers, fertilize them, and then trim their branches and leaves for a while. Without realizing it, a whole day had passed. His dissatisfaction in his heart would also disappear with it. "I often fantasize about your face when you see them. How delighted you would be, Ching. These flowers are all living solely for you." His dark eyes gazed at mine, shimmering with gentle ripples. It was as if he lived solely for me. "Then why have you never told me?" I couldn't help but speak up. "Because, in my heart, you are like a goddess, while I am just an unwanted loser. I'm afraid I don't deserve to get close to you." The sunset slowly stretched his shadow, as if wanting to slowly envelop me. "But tell me, what is it that made you fall for me?" I wonder where his hidden and grand love affair truly originates from in his heart. Ching, do you remember when I was 10 years old and you once saved my life? When Xiao Tinglu was 10 years old, I was only 8, on the winter solstice, when my elder sister and I entered the palace to accompany our aunt. Our aunt was so overjoyed that she forgot the time, until the eunuch reminded my aunt that the palace gates were about to be locked. My half-sister and I hurriedly left. Passing by the lotus pond, I saw several princes bury Xiao Tinglu in a snow pile, turning him into a snowman, with only his head sticking out. "What are you doing? He'll freeze to death like this." I ran over and started shoveling snow off Xiao Tinglu's body. At this moment, his lips had already turned purple from the cold, and his whole body was shaking. "Jiang Yaoqing, stay out of this." The second prince glared at me fiercely. My legitimate elder sister hurried over to my side and pulled me up. "Qing, the palace gates are about to close. We must leave quickly." The third prince disdainfully rolled his eyes at me. "Leave quickly? You're just the daughter of a consort's family, yet you dare come before us and show off your power. If we wanted to crush you, it would be easier than crushing an ant." "Very well, then let's try it." As I said that, I headbutted the third prince, sending him crashing to the ground. "Jiang Yaoqing, you damn whore, how dare you hit me? Kill her. My uncle is the general of the Northern Defense. If she dies, I'll take responsibility." The eunuch who was escorting us out of the palace, seeing the scene, stamped his foot in panic and hurried off toward the Fengwu Palace. "Are you daring to do it?" My half-sister blocked my path. "Are you really daring to offend the Wang clan? My mother came from the Langya Wang clan, and my maternal uncle married a daughter from the Longxili clan." The relationships between the 5 surnames and 7 prominent families are intricate and complex, with mutual familial ties that make them very united. Even imperial princes cannot afford to offend these aristocratic families. What if they are daughters of aristocratic families? Who gave you the right to interfere in our punishment of the disrespectful 6th prince? In their pursuit of temporary pride, they dragged Xiao Tinglu out of the snow pile, pulled him to the lotus pond, and pushed him in. A thin layer of ice had formed on the lotus pond, and Xiao Tinglu's body broke through the ice surface, sinking to the bottom of the water. This incident alarmed the entire harem. The aunt sent people to torture all the servants who had been accompanying the various princes, and directly presented the confessions to His Majesty. The next day, numerous ministers all submitted memorials, stating that several princes were utterly unruly and had bullied their siblings, making them unfit for great responsibilities and deserving of severe punishment. Rather, it was the young lady of the Jiang family with her compassionate heart and clear sense of right and wrong. They pleaded with His Majesty to appoint the son of Empress Jiang, Jiang Tinghe, as the crown prince. Among them, the one who led the effort was none other than my father and uncle. His Majesty, who favored concubine Liu, had no choice but to severely punish the third prince, who had dared to threaten to beat me to death. In order to protect the second prince, the third prince's maternal uncle, who was the general of the northern frontier, was also recalled to the capital. The other princes who participated, along with their maternal consorts, all received punishment at the same time. My cousin was established as the crown prince by His Majesty. The 4th young lady of the Jiang family became famous in one battle. Since then, the young masters and ladies in the capital have hardly dared to provoke me. That night, I fell ill. After returning to the palace, Xiao Tinglu had also recovered and moved into the Fengwu Palace. From that time on, he became like a shadow, never missing any opportunity to see me. He hid in the shadows of Fengwu Palace, silently watching my every move. Since my mother died, I thought I had fallen into complete darkness, with no one willing to help me. I spent my days silently praying in my heart, "If there are gods or Buddhas, please save me." Until that day, when I was shivering from the cold, you ran toward me wearing a red cloak. You're like a beam of light, shining perfectly on me without bias, making me see the beauty of the world again. I know, I don't deserve such a wonderful you, but, this time, it was you who came to provoke me first. Qing, the imperial edict for the marriage has not been issued yet, and you still have a chance to reconsider. Xiao Tinglu's voice was deep. The last sliver of sunset in the sky shone into the courtyard, seemingly edging his entire body with a golden border. While waiting for my response, to hide his nervousness, he silently picked a wisteria flower. I took a step forward, bent down, and tilted my head to look at him. "Xiao Tinglu, do you want to hug your fiancé?" He suddenly looked up, his eyes as blurry as if they had been washed by water, staring at me dazedly. The wisteria flower in his hand fell to the ground. Qing, Tears surged forth. Xiao Tinglu held me tightly in his arms. Warm and hurried breath gently brushed against my ear. I will never let you go again. I want to stay by your side forever, until I die. Originally, people who carry many sorrows in their hearts can be filled with just a little sweetness. The imperial edict granting the marriage soon came down. The wedding date was set for 3 months later. How could it be so fast? I don't even have enough time to embroider my wedding dress, I sighed. Didn't you want to marry me earlier? Xiao Tinglu's eyes immediately filled with grievance. I shook my head. Because I'm not good at domestic arts, 3 months feels rather rushed for me. Oh, that's why. Xiao Tinglu sighed with relief. Don't worry, my dear. I've already embroidered your wedding dress for you. Come take a look and see if you're satisfied or not. The smile that rippled in his eyes was like stars suddenly blazing in the night. I opened the wedding dress. On the red wedding dress, peonies and auspicious clouds were embroidered with golden threads. Beautiful and magnificent, completely unlike anything a man would sew. A wave of warmth surged in my heart. How long did it take you to finish stitching? Every day when I think of you, I stitch a little bit. It took more than a year altogether. There was still more I wanted to say, but I bent down and gently kissed Xiao Tinglu's lips. His pupils suddenly widened. After realizing what was happening, he immediately reached out and wrapped his arms around my waist, deepening the kiss. My heart raced instantly, while his heartbeat thundered like drums. He didn't let go until I was about to suffocate from lack of air, reluctantly pulling away from me. Ching ching, one kiss isn't enough. I want more, he breathed heavily, his voice deep. Before I could react, he picked me up and sat me on his lap. Good boy, try again. From that day on, Xiao Tinglu began frequently inviting me out. He invited me to go boating, and in the cabin, he wrapped his arms around my waist. Burying his face to kiss me, he invited me for tea, and in the private room, he suddenly leaned over and kissed me without any warning. He invited me to admire the moon, and took advantage of the night darkness to imprison me in his embrace, kissing me until my lips were swollen. It was as if his Ren and Du meridians had suddenly been unblocked. That once silent figure who could only quietly watch over me, Xiao Tinglu, now looked like a peacock spreading its tail, truly overwhelming me. He would often hold me in his arms, repeatedly asking me if I loved him, if I would ever leave him. He still seemed unable to believe that he had actually managed to marry me. Just as our feelings were rapidly intensifying, Zhao Wanyue, who was supposed to have left the capital, appeared once again. She knelt before the capital's courthouse, lodging a complaint against Xiao Tinglu. Since my cousin returned from the northern desert, I have entered Prince Rui's mansion, but now, my cousin has cast me out just to marry Miss Jiang's fourth younger sister. I am no longer a virgin, and I have no one to rely on in the capital. Is this not forcing me to die? I beg you, sir, to be my advocate. Many curious civilians had gathered around Zhao Wanyue, but she paid no attention to their gossiping and pointing. It wasn't until the eunuch pushed Xiao Tinglu to the courthouse gate that things changed. Cousin Tilda, cousin, I finally meet you, Tilda. As soon as Zhao Wanyue saw Xiao Tinglu, she rushed toward him, only to be stopped by the servants by his side. Xiao Tinglu stared at her coldly. Zhao Wanyue, do you know that slandering and spreading rumors about the prince will result in 30 lashes and imprisonment in the dungeon? Zhao Wanyue's face turned pale, and her lips trembled slightly. Cousin, please spare me for the 3 years I've served in your household. Hey Tilda, Miss Zhao, you sure know how to stir up imagination with your words. The eunuch behind Xiao Tinglu rolled his eyes and spoke in a sharp voice. You've been living in the prince's mansion for 3 years, not to mention the prince's bedroom. You've never even entered the prince's study. The mansion treats you like a distant lady, feeding you well and providing for you generously. When have you ever served the prince? When has the prince even touched you once? Nothing more than the fact that His Highness is about to marry, and he was worried that your staying at the mansion would cause you inconvenience. So he gave you a dowry and sent you back to your hometown. You harbored resentment and maliciously slandered His Highness. Zhao Wanyue's face turned pale inch by inch. Miss Zhao, human nature is never satisfied, like a snake that swallows an elephant. His Highness was concerned about your personal safety and specially dispatched a secret guard to escort you. But he saw you enter the third prince's mansion. Zhao Wanyue plumped down, kneeling before Xiao Tinglu, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. Cousin, I was wrong. Please spare me. It's the third prince. It was all the third prince who led me astray. He forcibly took my body, then made me come to the office to sue you. He said he wanted to take revenge on Jiang Yaoqing. If it weren't for her, he would have been in theft as a prince long ago. He wants Jiang Yaoqing to become the talk of the capital and a laughingstock before the wedding. Xiao Tinglu sat in his wheelchair, coldly glancing sideways. Then, turning to Liu Da-ren, who was watching the scene from the hall above, he said, Liu Da-ren, would you be willing to accompany His Royal Highness into the palace to meet His Majesty, the Emperor? Yes. Lord Liu hesitated somewhat. He didn't want to offend the third prince. This matter concerns my honor, as well as that of Prince Rui and the Jiang family. Please, Lord Liu, would you be so kind as to make the trip? Your father and aunt will surely be grateful to you. I smiled and spoke. The aristocratic families place the greatest importance on reputation. This time, I truly wanted to see how the third prince would bear the fury of the Jiang family. The wedding proceeded as scheduled. When night fell and all the guests had departed, Xiao Tinglu held his crutches and slowly walked toward me. Ching-ching, he lifted the veil and stared at me intently. Today you look really beautiful. After saying that, he leaned down and kissed my lips. The cane was carelessly thrown on the ground, and the wedding dress he had embroidered with his own hands was torn apart. Ching-ching, help me take off my clothes. A handsome face, well-built muscles. As my clothes were pushed down to my waist, my hand was suddenly seized. My left leg is so ugly. I pushed his hand away. Unlike his perfectly good right leg, Xiao Tinglu's left leg looked thin and weak, with a long pinkish-purple scar running across it. Like a centipede, I bent down and placed a kiss on the scar. This was his battlefield honor, his glory. It should not be scorned. Ching-ching, Xiao Tinglu's voice was hoarse, his eyes red-rimmed, his breath growing increasingly hot. He flipped over and pinned me beneath him, kissing me from head to toe, whispering my name continuously in my ear. Ching-ching, Ching-ching, I love you so much. Do you love me? I love you too. I'm coming. Try to hold on to the pain. Rising and falling chests accompanied by low panting, I gripped the bedsheet tightly, feeling as if I were flying into the clouds, until dawn began to break. I was exhausted and drowsy from the sheer fatigue. A deep voice came from beside my ear. Can we do it again? I promise. This will be the last time. After saying that, he kissed my lips again. 3 days later, it was my return feast. My parents had prepared so many things for me. By the time we came out of the Jiang residence, the sky had already grown completely dark. The carriage jostled as we traveled. I leaned against Xiao Tinglu's shoulder, and had just closed my eyes when an arrow pierced straight into the carriage wall. Ching-ching, be careful. Xiao Tinglu embraced me tightly. Xiao Tinglu, give me your life. Several men in black surrounded the carriage completely. I was filled with trembling fear, my bones shaking and flesh quivering. Who wanted to harm Xiao Tinglu? Could it be that even if I marry Xiao Tinglu, he still cannot escape his destined death? Then what was the point of all my efforts these past few days? I won't accept it. I love Xiao Tinglu. I must make sure he lives. As an arrow pierced through the carriage curtain, I stood up and blocked Xiao Tinglu with my body. Clang sounded the sharp noise. The expected pain didn't come. I turned around, and that arrow was struck down by a throwing knife. Ching-ching, Xiao Tinglu's pupils were crimson, his voice trembling. He pulled me into his arms in one swift motion. Are you trying to die? Dark 5. Dark 6, leave them alive. I want to interrogate them slowly. Yes, Your Highness. In the midst of sword clashing, he fiercely kissed my lips. So he had his secret guards after all. I was too careless. As punishment for not taking care of myself, Xiao Tinglu tortured me for a full day and night. By the time I walked out of the room with sore waist and trembling legs, I realized that the third prince had been exiled to Lingnan and was forbidden to return to the capital without imperial decree, and his mother consort, once the most favored concubine known as the, was forever exiled to the cold palace. It turned out that before my marriage, Xiao Tinglu's cousin, Zhao Wanyue, had been flogged 30 times and then imprisoned, And the third prince, having offended the powerful clans, received an imperial edict that he would never be granted the title of prince in his lifetime. A prince without a title meant no real power and no fief to govern. Besides being the king's son, he had nothing else. The third prince was furious. The grudge he held against me stemmed from the time 9 years ago when I saved Xiao Tinglu. Over all these years, he had never been able to let go of this resentment. Thus, he orchestrated this assassination attempt. I sat under the grape arbor, eating grapes while listening to the eunuch's vivid description. The prince is really furious this time. He had all the prominent families, using the fact that your royal highness nearly died by arrow to force the emperor to exile the third prince to Lingnan. Lingnan is full of miasma, tsk. His future days are probably going to be quite difficult. I sucked on a grape. You deserve it. Who else would bully people from a young age? That's right, as this old servant says. Ching ching tilde. Xiao Tinglu interrupted the eunuch's words. The servants, seeing the scene, quietly withdrew. The wheelchair stopped in front of me. Are the grapes sweet? The word sweet had just left my lips when he suddenly kissed me. Good tilde, let me savor you well tilde. The sky gradually grew dark, and I was completely exhausted and unable to move a muscle while lying in bed, looking at Xiao Tinglu, who was sound asleep beside me. I couldn't help but stroke his face. The last time, he died because of me. Fortunately, this time I saved him. We can spend this long life together. Deep love never abandons the heart. Together we follow each other through a lifetime.